All right, how many of you are going to be first-time secretaries? Okay, I understand why you are here. All right, how many of you have been or currently are or have been a secretary in your club? So I often hear from people or comments from people saying, I've been secretary for years. I don't need to go to that thing. Why might you want to have come here even though you've been secretary for a long time? That is a good answer. Maybe you're not doing it right. How many of you have heard of the Council on Legislation? They make changes. Every 3 years they meet, and they may make changes that pertain to your job. And although I have been a secretary since the 2009-2010 year, going through these materials that Terry provided, I learned a few things that I didn't know. And I thought I knew everything. Just kidding. But so it is important to be here. So please go back to your clubs and share that information with them and say, you know, you really do need to attend these training sessions because there may be things that are review for you, but I guarantee you there are going to be some pearls of wisdom that you can pull from any of these classes. Okay, let's get started. Secretary. How many of you have attended RLI? How many of you know what RLI is? Oh, good. Glad to see all these hands. Rotary Leadership Institute. I am an RLI graduate, and our club is right on the border between North Carolina and South Carolina. So I attended courses in both states, and one of the trainers, I don't remember her name, but she would start every class by saying, what's the most important position in a club? And most people would say president. And she would say, a good secretary can make anybody look like a good president. And that's very, very true. You get to be the one that knows everything. They're in and out in 1 year. And if you do your job well, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to want to stay in it, just like I have, because you are the link between your members and the officers in your club, your link with the members and the district. You're the link to everything because you're going to be the most knowledgeable member about your club and the district. You're going to get to learn all kinds of things about the district resources. And I will tell you that District 7750 does a fantastic job providing resources for their clubs. Okay, so what does the secretary have to do? Probably the thing that creates the most confusion and is done inaccurately the most often is adding new members. So we're going to address that in great detail right up front. Make sure we get that covered before we address some of the other stuff. There is a handout. It is the front and back handout, the one-page front and back handout. And Terry has done a fantastic job telling us step by step how to add a new member. So if you follow that, you can't go wrong. Let's see what the next. Okay. Let's just kind of go through that handout. I'm ad-libbing a little bit because I don't know that I have it memorized, but how many of you track prospects in your club or potential members? Okay. Very good. Now, what do I mean by that for those of you who may not be doing that? Let's say that a member brings a guest to your club. I assume you have someone that greets people as they come into your club. It might be your attendance chairperson. It might be you, the secretary. It might be your sergeant at arms. I mean, it's different for different clubs. But you should provide that person with it's a guest information form where you capture all the information you can about that guest, but most importantly, you get their email address. What do you do with that information? You then go to DACdb. I assume everybody's somewhat familiar, at least know what I mean by DACdb. And you enter that person as if you're going to add a member. And the member type could be potential. There's an option for potential. There's an option for prospect. I suggest that for guests, you just label them as potential members. Why do that? Well, that way, whenever you or your president sends out emails or any information about upcoming events, your next club meeting, you can email those potential members. You can keep them in the loop of what's going on with the club. And let's say that after visiting your club a few times and attending a Discover Rotary meeting, that potential member decides they want to join. They fill out the application, the sponsors sign the application gets submitted to the board for approval, the board votes to elect them, you make the information known to your club members that you intend to admit this person as a member, give them a minimum of 7 days to make comments or questions about it. Then you vote as a membership to have that person join the club. Well, actually, they've already been elected by the board, but if there are no objections from your membership, you can announce that the person is a new member. Is that when you add them, change them, their status in DACdb? Well, as soon as they submit that application, you can go into DACdb and change their status from potential to prospect because they are a prospective member. And by giving them a different type, you can do all kinds of things. You can do all kinds of sorts and emails and things to different types of members. But once they have been voted and elected to become a new member, you don't want to add them right away. So what if you send them their dues, which may include an admission fee, whatever the case, however your club does it, and they don't pay their dues? Now what? So you wait until you receive that payment, that first payment, before they are officially a member in your club. Okay? Any questions so far? We could. I have a Guido in my club. His name's Chuck Funderburg, but he's our sergeant at arms. He could do that. Okay, so we've received that first payment. They legitimately have bought in. They are ready to be a member. Do I just go to DACdb and change their status from prospect to active? That's what some people do, and that would be wrong. They have to first be entered into Rotary.org. Why is that? Anybody can anybody hazard an idea? Got to get their member number. And you want to find out whether they've been a member before in some other club, because they're not going to tell you. They typically don't volunteer that information. That's been my experience. So you always, now granted, we're flipping back and forth. We did that preliminary tracking and drip marketing through DACdb. But once they've become an official member, they've paid those first dues, we want to go to the Rotary International website, rotary.org, and add them there first. Now, what happens when you go there? It's going to recommend that you search, that you find that member. And please don't just bypass this. Don't skip past this. Because as I said, I've had many new members that haven't volunteered to me that they've been a member, previously been a member. So actually search for them by name. And you're going to find out, you're probably going to get one of three, you will get one of three responses. It'll say no members found, which means if you've typed the name in correctly, that person's not in Rotary.org, never has been, and you're good to go to proceed. Or it may show you that it'll list the person's name, and if it says member, that means that they have not been terminated from their previous club. Their previous club thinks they're still a member. You cannot proceed past that point, adding that member to your club. What you have to do under those circumstances is reach out to that club secretary and very diplomatically say, well, Scott Maxfield has applied and been accepted as a member of our club, but the records show that he's still a member of your club. Could you please terminate him from your club so that I can add him to my club? Okay. You can't poach. Yes, sir. By following protocol, this gentleman had a member that moved from Virginia, a Virginia club, to his South Carolina club, and he was able to recover some dues that had been paid to the Virginia club by following protocol. All right, what's the other thing that can happen? The other thing would be that the member shows up, or the person shows up as having been a member, and is a terminated member. It will not say that they are currently a member. And you can select that individual and proceed. Okay, and that is a club by club choice, but in this particular club, and it may be true in your club, that if they've been a previous Rotarian, they don't have to pay that new member admission fee. Now, if you're having to manually enter all the information in, Rotary.org requires that you enter a minimum amount of information, and I believe that is email, a primary phone and address, and birth date. And there used to be a time when we didn't have to capture the year that a person was born. We do need to capture the date now. Okay. What I do is I put the bare minimum information in Rotary.org when I'm adding a new member. And the reason for that is that once I've got that bare minimum information in Rotary.org and Rotary assigns that member a new member number, I then go to DACdb, and once I've added that person in DACdb, anything that I plug into DACdb from that point forward gets automatically uploaded to Rotary.org. That's why I put the minimum information that I have to put in Rotary.org. And then once I've got that Rotary member number, everything I do pertaining to that member from that point forward, I do in DACdb. Good question. We're gonna talk about a feature. It causes, short answer is, it creates all kinds of problems. And we will show, we're gonna discuss later, this feature called Rotary International Integration. It talks about how DACdb and Rotary.org interface and how you can check for that kind of thing. The biggest problem that I have encountered is previous secretaries in my club did not search to see if the member had been a member of a Rotary club before. And what ends up is that the person ended up with multiple member IDs. And I'm still dealing with some of the fallout from that, because when that person was in a previous Rotary club, they made contributions to the Rotary Foundation. And let's say that they became a Paul Harris Fellow in that first club. Then they resigned for whatever reason. Now they've joined my club. If I don't do my job right and I create a second membership ID number for that person, they're starting over. They're not getting credit for that Paul Harris Fellow that they achieved in the previous club. Now, there are ways. The Rotary Support Center is wonderful about trying to help you merge those multiple accounts. And you may see that, actually, when you search for a member, you may see that person listed multiple times. If a previous secretary has not done something right, and if you do see that, you need to contact the Rotary Support Center and try to get those accounts, and they will be able to merge them for you so that there's only one surviving account. That is one reason that the birth date is so important. Okay, once we have that Rotary member ID, we're going to DACdb, and on the left, in the left-hand panel, there is an option called, and we will look at this when we actually go to screens. We get past this presentation. There's an item that says RI integration. If you click on that, it's going to show you two panels. On the left-hand side, it's going to list the members that Rotary.org has listed as your club members. And on the right panel, it's going to have the members that you have listed in DACdb, so you can compare. It's called RI Compare. That's the term that we use. Now, that member that you just added into Rotary.org will appear on the left-hand panel because you just put them in Rotary.org. They're not going to appear in the right-hand panel with DACdb yet. So you scroll down to that individual's name, and there will be an option that says Add Member. And you just click on that, and it fills in all the information that you put in from Rotary.org into DACdb. Now, I like the way DACdb is laid out. I prefer working in DACdb. So I then go back to that member's account and finish filling out like whatever the primary information is not. Because remember, we put the primary information in Rotary.org. Right? Because on that application, you should have asked that member which email they want to use for Rotary, which phone number they want to use for Rotary, which address they want to use for Rotary. So that's the information you're going to put in Rotary.org. But then I always like to have the home address, an alternate email, an alternate phone. So I go into DACdb and add that information. Put the spouse information. In fact, if you want to contact me through email, I have a form that I use once a member has been admitted to the club. It's got, I created it. It's just a new member information form that I send everybody that asks them for all the information that I need in order to plug into DACdb. And I'll be happy to just share that form with you if you want to use that. You know, spouse information, business information, etc. The hardest thing for me is to get the photo. I hate having to do that because you have to size it, and it's just, and like I said, I'm not tech savvy, so that is the hardest thing for me. But you should strive to get a photo to put in DACdb as well. And in DACdb, it'll show you an icon. It'll show a little camera icon beside each person's name if you've got their photo. I just don't like the fact that I get dinged because I actually have some members that are quite senior members that don't have emails. So I can't put an email address in there for them, and I get dinged for that. I don't like that. But yeah, it is what it is based on your club. You may say, well, this makes it sound so simple, so easy. Well, it is if you do it right. If you don't do this part right, it creates all kinds of headaches down the road. So please make sure you get this part right. Okay, the place to start with your secretary duties is Rotary7750.org. From this website, you can get to DACdb and Rotary.org. This is where, and I don't know about you guys, but in my club, I'm usually the one that goes online to find the Governor's Excellent Award spreadsheet, the information about the Rotary Citation Award, even the planning guide. This is where you find all that stuff. There are all kinds of resources here. And you can do it by position in the club. You can search for materials that are for president, for secretary, for treasurer, for all. You can do it by Rotary year. This is a wonderful, wonderful resource. District leader, the tab on the left, that's just for the district leadership. That's not for club leadership. Club leader in the middle, that's where I usually use the two blue tabs in the center and the right. There's a wealth of information in there. You see the three gold tabs up in the left-hand corner? Login, contact, My Rotary. My Rotary takes you to myrotary.org. Login takes you to DACdb. So you can, like I said, you can get to either of those websites from district7750.org. And Terry's showing us step by step. Is this how to add a member, Terry? Okay. So from district7750.org, you click on My Rotary. Now, this is assuming that you have already registered with myrotary.org and that you have an account and a password set up. And you are either a sitting secretary or president, because those are the only two that can actually do this job. Unless, and this is one of the pearls that I learned doing this, you can delegate your responsibilities to someone else. And the way that you do that is on the upper right-hand corner, you'll have your name and or your photo. I don't see that on here. But you click on that and all these options show up down below. And I believe it's under settings. And you go from there and it'll give you the option to delegate your responsibilities. And basically that allows that whoever you delegate, whoever your assistant is, can also get in using your password to do the same functions that you would do as secretary. I did not know that. I was excited to learn that. It's like, okay, I got to get somebody to help me with this stuff. Okay. Oh, there we go. Michelle Patterson. You see the name Michelle Patterson? That's where you would click. All right. How do you get to where you need to be in Rotary.org? Click on Manage or hover over Manage. What do you want me to do? And then Club Administration. And there's a whole list of things here that you can scroll through. This is where you're going to also find the reports. So a lot of the reports that you're going to need, contribution reports. But right now, we're going to look at club and member data. And we're going to select Add, Edit, or Remove a Member. How am I doing on time? I need to move it up. Okay. Add a member. We've already talked about this, so I'm going to scroll through these. I'm going to enter the person's name. If we happen to know the email, which we should from the information that they've provided us, we can enter that. And see, this is where, if they're already a member, you can't poach them. You have to contact the Greenville Club to have the person terminated. Okay. Now we are in DACdb, My Club tab, add a new member, and see over here on the left-hand side, RI integration. That's what we were talking, that's what we were referring to. Left-hand panel are what's listed in Rotary.org. Right-hand panel is what's listed in DACdb. The actions on the left, add and tells you these red. Anytime you see red means there's something that doesn't match. And we're not so much interested, if the address or business phone or something like that doesn't match. It's more important that we've got that member ID. That information matches. And that's where you have the option. We have added Daniel Kelly into Rotary.org. He's on the left-hand panel, not on the right-hand panel. So it gives us the option to add to DACdb. That saves you from having to re-enter everything in DACdb. Okay, secretary duties. Well, most of us know in most boards what the responsibilities are for a secretary. Well, ours are a little more involved. We know we have to keep membership records. It is important that you update the membership records on a regular basis. And your members are not going to volunteer that they've moved and they have a new address, that they've changed business. They've left one job and moved to another job. So their email address may have changed, their phone numbers may have changed. So I have found it prudent, and I believe I have the document on file. I think I can share that with you as well, at least annually. And I try to do it semi-annually. I try to do it in prior to the invoice that comes out July 1 and the invoice that comes out January 1. So I try to do this in June and December, hand out a form asking the members to verify their information or to provide their information. And they're going to moan and groan about it. They just do. But you're going to find that you don't have the most current information in DACdb unless you do that. So I do that regularly. And remember, anything that you put in DACdb automatically gets uploaded to Rotary.org. So you don't have to do it in both places. Now, it doesn't work the reverse, though. If you put it in Rotary, well, that's not true. If you go through the member compare, you can get it to switch. You can actually go through and switch it, but it's just simply easier and more automatic to go from DACdb to Rotary.org. It is your responsibility to make sure that the attendance is kept at meetings. Why is that? Do you know why? You have to submit the club attendance for the month to the district. So you want to make sure that those membership or the attendance is correct at every meeting. And per normal, you would be the one to send out notices that there's a club meeting, a committee meeting, or a board meeting. And of course, it's your responsibility to take the minutes for those meetings, or delegate to someone else to take those minutes if it's a committee. Got to keep those membership records updated in DACdb. Now, reporting attendance. Members can do makeups. If they miss your meeting, they can do a makeup. Either it could be a service project, it could be a committee meeting, any kind of Rotary-related activity like that. They could view one online. They could attend another club. Needs to be a minimum of an hour. And they report that to you. You can give them credit for the meeting they missed, but it has to be within 14 days, either before or after the missed meeting. So if they know ahead of time that they're going to be gone on vacation, they can go ahead and up to 14 days before the missed meeting, they can take care of that for attendance. That's why I wait until the 15th of the following month to report the attendance, is because I may have members doing makeups up to 14 days after the end of the month, or 14 days after the last meeting. So give a chance for those members to get those makeups done so that you can report those. Okay, at weekly meetings, what do we do? Well, we know that we have to we're going to make sure that attendance is right. We're going to do whatever we have to assist the president, keep those name badges current, taking out the terminated ones and adding new members. Visiting Rotarians, there are actually forms that you can fill out and give them to take back with them, proving that they attended your club meeting. In my case, the clubs, surrounding clubs and we just exchange emails. We just shoot an email back and forth to confirm that. Whatever works for your club. Collecting for meals. You know, if you've got guests attending that need to pay for meals, or if you've got members that are on leave of absence that need to pay for meals. Although that may be delegated to the treasurer. You're going to need to work closely with the treasurer. All right, how many types of members does Rotary acknowledge? 2. You're either an active member or an honorary member. The club gets billed Rotary International and district dues for every active member. You may have members that come to you and say, in my case, I'm going to Macau, China to help build the hospital. I'm going to be here for a year. I want to take a leave of absence. Well, and again, this is something that you'll decide within your club, how you want to handle this, but the club still has to pay. Rotary doesn't recognize a leave of absence member anymore. Only active and honorary. So the club's going to get billed for every active member, whether you've let them go on leave of absence or not. So your club's going to have to decide how they handle those members' dues. Our club, we bill those members what it costs the club to pay Rotary International dues and district dues. And then if they happen to show up for a meeting during their leave of absence, they just pay for the meal like a guest would. All right. Does everybody know what Rule of 85 is referring to? So I see some people shaking their heads no. All right, this is something that has changed multiple times. This is a perfect example of why you need to attend these courses on a regular basis. Rule of 85, the current definition or requirements are you have to have been a member of Rotary for 20 years or more. But once you've met that threshold, if your age plus your number of years in Rotary equals 85 or higher, then attendance is relaxed for you. You don't have to attend every meeting like you're expected to if you're not a Rule of 85 member. There is a report on DACdb that will tell you who in your club is eligible for Rule of 85. And you can't automatically change them to Rule of 85. But I have found that if I run that report and I have a member that is eligible to be Rule of 85, I can approach that member, tell them about that opportunity, and they can tell me in writing that they would like to be a Rule of 85 member, and then I can change that member type in DACdb. Now, what does that do to your calculations of attendance? If they're present, if they attend a meeting, you count them as present and you count them in your denominator. If they're not present, then you can subtract them from the denominator, the bottom number that you use to calculate the attendance. And Terry provides us with an example. So if we've got a club that has 150 active and 20 Rule of 85 members, so they have a total of 170 members in their club, all the actives attend, and none of the Rule of 85s attend, then you don't count any of the Rule of 85s in your denominator. If they do attend, you do count them in the denominator. And for those of you that don't use the attendance module, and our club doesn't, as long as they've got a secretary that's willing to do all this, they don't want to go to that expense. I have a form, and I shade the Rule of 85 members so that I can very quickly identify those that I can subtract from my denominator when I'm calculating the attendance. Best practice, though, is you pay for it yourself. So that, and I think it's only $185 a year. I think that's what it is. But Terry put in there the best practice is to use the attendance module. It automates weekly and monthly attendance calculations. I don't have the engagement module either. Attendance on steroids. With meetings and service records. Okay, additional secretary duties. How am I doing on time? I took my watch off last week to time myself, walked away and left my watch. It was not there this week when I went back. So, okay. If your club has a treasurer, some of these duties will be delegated to the treasurer. It's up to your club how you bill. I bill quarterly. I bill for the quarter coming. You may want to bill for the quarter that just completed. It's up to your club how you do that. Other clubs bill semi-annually or annually, monthly. And there will be members who have not paid their dues. My personal experience is that the most common reason for that, you have the wrong email address. Because we use QuickBooks and we email the invoices. So if they've changed emails and haven't told you, they're not going to get those invoices. I send those invoices out by email, and if they haven't paid within the first 30 days, I print hard copies and hand deliver those during club meetings. If they haven't paid after 60 days, I do that whole process again. You do it however you want, or however your club has it set up. If you do run into cases where, and I have 2 members that just ignore invoices for a whole year, and then they pay. And you learn those habits. If you stay in those roles long enough, you'll realize their habits. But if they become excessive, you need to take it to the board so the board can deal with the members that aren't paying dues. Keeping the district governor and district everybody informed. That's just keeping your membership information and your club information current in DACdb. DACdb is going to be your best friend. Working and supporting the different committees in your club. You are going to be the go-to source. You're going to be the one that's going to have access to all the statistics for your club. You're going to know the history of everything that's going on in your club. So you are going to be the go-to person. They're going to be coming to you for all this information. Publicizing nominations, that's what I was talking about with the new members. You also have to publish nominations for positions within your club. When you are, when do you have to have your new officers, your suite of officers selected for the next year? When are those voted on? Those are voted on in December. So you need to have those identified. You need to present them to your club in November. Give your club your members an opportunity to digest who their proposed officers are going to be, and then give them an opportunity to question, voice any concerns, and then you have the actual elections in December. Anytime the board of directors meets, it's your responsibility to send out notice of those meetings, unless I have had presidents that have said I would prefer to do that, and so I defer to that. But technically, it should be the secretary that sends out notices for that. It's your responsibility to take minutes, and I have found that the recording device, the voice memos on my phone is just a godsend, because I don't have to scribble notes about the minute taking now. I can actively participate in the meeting, and everything is being recorded for me, so I can go back and do those minutes. It's your job to keep track of attendance and non-attendance. Typically, somebody can come up to me and say, how many members typically average attendance do we have? And I know it because I've kept track of that attendance sheet every week. I've reported that monthly, so I can tell you that pre-COVID, we averaged about 50 members per meeting. Post-COVID, it goes anywhere from 12 to 26. It's been great fluctuation since we've resumed in-person meetings. But I know those numbers because I keep track of all that. How many members did we start our year with? We started with 66. We're ending with 57. The proposals for membership, and what are the reasons that members are resigning? And I've gotten a whole array of things since COVID. Financial concerns, daughter lost her job. I'm having to support her now. I can't afford Rotary dues right now. I'm a doctor. I know all the COVID statistics. I'm not coming back to an in-person meeting, and I don't know how to do that stupid Zoom thing. All kinds of, explanations. But club bulletin. I think Terry's going to tell you how you can do that real easily through DACdb. Your club bylaws need to be reviewed. How often? Preferably, but no, at least every 3 years. Why? Because of the Council on Legislation. You got to make sure that your bylaws are in sync with any changes that have been made. And then, so you have at least two governance documents that you should be able to put your hands on at all times. And they're going to come to you for it. It's going to be your club constitution and your club bylaws. And then, of course, you are the keeper of the minute book. And I think this was in the 2019 changes. The secretary has up to 60 days. You need to make sure those minutes are submitted within 60 days of the meeting. Did everybody hear that question and that answer? The question was, where can you post your meeting minutes in DACdb? And Terry's answer was, you can post it under club files, or there's a section for committees where you keep track of your committees in DACdb, and you could post them there, especially any committee board or committee meeting. Did you hear that? Their practice is draft the meeting minutes, and then those meeting minutes are presented at the next board meeting or committee meeting for approval. Once they're approved, then you can post them. Everybody is aware that the old wheel is no longer acceptable. We need to use the new Rotary brand in everything that we do. And there is a wealth of resources on Rotary.org brand center. There's a template where you can create your own club logo, and you print ads, hard copy, radio, there's all kinds of information and resources available in the branding center. Okay, by month. June, July. If you're an outgoing secretary or an incoming secretary, it's important that you meet. That outgoing secretary needs to hand off all kinds of information to that incoming secretary. You want to make sure, and that's why I said, in June, my habit is to send out those forms asking members to update, make sure I have the most current information. You want to do that in DACdb. at the minimum, you need to make sure that your member roles are correct. Why is that? Dues. Used to, you had a semi-annual report that came, the SAR that came with your dues invoice, where you could mark out members that have been terminated or add members. That form doesn't exist anymore. So you have to make sure that your membership rolls are accurate July 1 and January 1. This would be a good time to use the member compare feature to make sure that the records in Rotary.org and DACdb match. Remember I told you there's a report that's available in DACdb to help you find out who's eligible for Rule of 85. The new rule is you have to have been a member at least 20 years, and your age plus the number of years in Rotary must equal 85 or higher. Your club can now decide how you want to handle honorary members. Do they get elected each year, or is it an ongoing, do they automatically renew as honorary members? In our club, they're an honorary member till they die, once they've been elected as an honorary member. You do not have to pay dues for honorary members. You do pay, I think it's for the Rotarian magazine. Anybody know why, when you're doing your budget, do anybody know why the dues in July are higher? The Rotary International dues are higher in July than they are in January? The insurance. Rotary International pays for general liability insurance, and those fees are paid with the July invoice. So that's why that invoice is higher. You are going to be the little angel sitting on your president and president-elect's shoulder, guiding them through the year. You're going to be the one reminding them, hey, I've already started with my president-elect saying, you need to be figuring out who your officers are going to be, because we have to present them to the club when? November, because the election has to be in December. We have to every single club has to file a tax return. And because our fiscal year goes from July 1 through June 30th, the deadline for it is November 15th. Now, if you've got a club treasurer, your treasurer should be taking care of this. But again, you are the little angel whispering in their ears. You're the one that's going to be reminding them that has to be done. And it does have to be done. We had a club treasurer that didn't do it for a number of years, and we lost our tax exempt status, and it was a nightmare going back through and getting all that corrected. Best thing is to do it right to begin with. All right, November, your nominations. Your club may have a nominating committee. It may be your current officers that are trying to recruit folks to come behind them. It's different in every club. In December, when we elect them. Oh, and then there's something else that's new that you may want to tell your treasurer about. I think this was new with 2019, and it's not in the handout. You have to have a financial meeting every year now, where you or your treasurer, someone, does a financial presentation to the club. You have to go over the balance sheet, the income statement. Typically, I do that the same time I present the budget for the next year. But you do have to do that annually, at least once annually now. District dues are paid once a year. Those usually come out in July. Rotary International dues come out twice a year, July and January. So it's very important that you make sure that your rolls are correct in June and December so that you get billed correctly. Because there is no fixing it Yes, ma'am. So your invoices are available. I just usually wait for the email, but so you can actually go online and access your invoices. Rotary.org. See, I just learned something else now. You can get them in faster. Did everybody hear what Lorraine had to say? You can access your invoices online at Rotary.org, and it is important that you pay them on time. Otherwise, your club is not eligible for the Rotary Citation Award. Your president-elect and president nominee attend pre-pets in February, and then they attend pets in March. They are going to come out of that meeting saying, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? I didn't sign up for all this. Deer in the headlights, okay? You as the secretary can tell them, we got this. We got this covered. So they're going to come out from pets with a planning guide that they have to be completed. What's the usual deadline? April 30th? Okay, May 15th is the usual deadline. Okay, I thought it had been extended maybe for COVID. Okay. Oh, should be right there. Terry tells us. My suggestion to you is that you very gently suggest to your president, let me help you with this. Because you know where to get these statistics that are required in the planning guide. You will know the history of your club. You're going to be a tremendous resource for your president. And my president and I, we sat down and we had this thing done in an afternoon. But if he had to do it by himself, it would have been a lot longer. So I would suggest that you offer your services. If your club sends delegates to Rotary International, and I would encourage them to do so. Does anybody know where the next Rotary International Convention is going to be in June? Houston. How many have already signed up to go? Yay. Last time it's going to be in the United States until 2027. So this is a good opportunity to go. Again, communication with the outgoing secretary and incoming secretary are crucial. Back to our home base, which is district7750.org. Login takes us to where? DACdb. Okay. And I think Terry's going to have me actually go into DACdb and take you through some things. This is actually our club. So our outgoing president, yesterday we had our final club meeting, so she is celebrating. Our incoming president is still a little nervous. And our president nominee is here. Okay. We started at district7750.org. We know what we're going to do in Rotary.org. Now we're going to talk about what we do in DACdb. Okay. Is everybody familiar with DACdb? Everybody has an account in DACdb? All right. Do you know how to enter your club information? First of all, is everybody familiar with this screen? This is the new interface. Because I think the old interface is going away in just a few days, June 30th. So if you haven't set up the new interface, you need to do so now. Edit the club. You need to make sure that your club information, where you're meeting, when you meet, is current, because you may have other members wanting to come visit your club, and this is where they're going to get that information. And that's where the district governor is going to go. That's where Frank is going to go when he comes to visit your club. I know I'm skipping stuff because I want to get through some more stuff to help everybody, the stuff that they tend to find more complicated. This is what those of us that, this is what I was used to, where it brought me directly to my list of club members. I didn't have all those icons. This is the classic interface, okay? That when you click on my club, it brought you directly to your roster of members. To switch to the new interface, just look up here in this upper right-hand corner under your name. It says switch to new interface. And that's all it takes. And I can, if you want to contact me, I'd be more than happy to help you set your icons and your widgets and things up. Okay. All right. How many of you are familiar with Rotary Club Central? All right, maybe I should pose that question. How many of you are not that familiar with Rotary Club Central? Okay, this is another area where you can be of tremendous assistance to your club. Now, if you go to the district7750.org, one of the pieces of material that you're going to want to print out as early as possible is the Governor's Excellence Award spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet gives you a list of goals that the district governor, the incoming district governor, wants your club to accomplish. Now, you don't want to wait until July to print this out, because there's a whole planning section that pertains to things that you need to be doing leading up to the switch from one president to another. And there's a list of goals that they want your club to accomplish and that you need to accomplish in order to be eligible for the Governor's Excellence Award. You can go through that thing and you can say, yes, we did that. Yes, we did that. Yes, we did that. Oh, we're wonderful. It doesn't count unless you've recorded it somewhere other than on that spreadsheet. You need to use Rotary Club Central and/or Rotary Showcase to report what your club has accomplished. And that starts with Rotary Club Central. And I have found with Rotary.org, there are usually multiple ways to get to the same place. My typical route to get to to Rotary Club Central is I go to Take Action, and then there's a thing that says Develop Projects, and that will let you go to either Rotary Club Central and/or Rotary Showcase. Now, I'm not going to go over Rotary Showcase today, but that Rotary Showcase is where you can actually go in and record all kinds of information about your service projects. And the cool thing about that is then that information can be imported over to Rotary Club Central for that part. But the first thing that you need to do in Rotary Club Central, this first page, this home page of Rotary Club Central is going to give you all kinds of statistics about your club. Where you want to go, you and your president should work on this together. This would be part of the planning guide. Part of what you do is part of the planning guide. Go to the goal center, and each one of these tabs here represent a different section of goals, category of goals. I usually just click on all to see them all. And this is where you actually go in and identify what you think your club can accomplish this year. And the Rotary last year and this year, and I don't know, maybe years going forward, maybe this is how they're going to do what used to be called Presidential Citation Award. The name has been changed to Rotary Citation Award. In the past, the president, RI president, would set up a list of goals, sort of like the Governor's Excellence Award, and your club had to accomplish those different goals. But last year and this year, they're basically saying you go into Rotary Club Central, you enter at least 15 goals that you think your club can accomplish. And if your club does accomplish 13 or more of those, then you qualify for the Rotary Citation Award. But if you don't put it in Rotary Club Central, they're not going to know. Okay? So there is information, and to enter your goals, you just click edit. And in some cases, they show you what your achievement was for the preceding year so that you can match that or exceed that. You can look back at the dashboard at the club statistics to see, well, how have we done in this area in the past several years? What do we think we can accomplish? You just do a check mark to say, okay, I think our club can accomplish this goal. And then you enter the goal in there. This needs to be done prior to the new year beginning. And then throughout the year, as you check these things off, you actually come into Rotary Club Central to check them off. And Terry pointed out you can add a goal if it was something that you weren't sure you could accomplish at the beginning of the year, but it's like, oh, wow, I think we might be able to add that one. You can add the goal, additional goals as you go throughout the year. And this last year, they let you edit goals. I don't know if that's typically something that, if you thought that you could add, 10% membership, but you realize you're not quite going to make that, you can go in and amend that goal. You can lower that goal so that it's more achievable. They want you to be able to achieve the goals. My experience is that some of my presidents have attended it and they've gone in and entered these goals. And again, this is where you need to be diplomatic and you can be the glue for your club, because I've had presidents that have come back and they have entered goals that there's no way we could accomplish those. And so I go through and I look at those and then I very diplomatically say, well, historically, this is what our club has been able to do. Maybe we want to revisit, the goals that have been put in. In most cases, the presidents love to defer this to a secretary if the secretary is willing to do it. But again, this is where the two of you need to work together. And I would say immediately after pets. And I wish, and just FYI, secretaries can attend pets. And I would recommend that if the club will, support you going, because I'm telling you, you are the best resource for your president. Most of them, when they leave pets, that ego has kind of gone down a little bit. Terry said that Rotary Club Central is numerical. It's just factual. What did you get accomplished? What do you think you can accomplish? And what did you accomplish? And again, that historical information is invaluable. If we go back to the dashboard, We've got membership trends dating back for several years. We've got demographic, well, this is gender trends, male, female. And your goal on this is to have, look at this bottom line right here, unreported. You don't want anything in there. You want zeros. That means that you're keeping your data clean and current. Age trends. Again, you don't want any unreported. No, you do have to do the year. You do. Yep. In the past, we did not have to report the date of or the year of birth, but now we do. And usually these unreporteds are some of those from, holdovers from the years when we did not. But again, that form that I told you that I try to do twice a year where I get the members to update that information. Hopefully you can capture that. Okay. All right, we have 5 more minutes. Let's do questions and answers. Okay, so you are not wanting to pay dues for all of those members. So it's not as simple as going into DACdb and adding all 5 of them and using the type corporate. Terry, do you have any suggestions on how you can capture that data column?
Stand over by you so we can do some recording.
Okay.
That's okay. With respect to corporate members, there are a variety of flavors of that. And I've seen clubs do it a lot of different ways, and your club can do it any way you want. Now, with respect to my own club, we've decided that corporate members are going to be Rotarians. So what we do is we treat an associate member like an R85. We don't pre-bill them for meals. And that takes 2/3 of the sticker price off the table. So that's basically our corporate member strategy, is that the alternates pay Rotary dues, pay district dues, pay club dues. They're full-fledged Rotarians. They can be on the board, they can be officers, etc. They're in Rotary. Now, there are some versions of that. Some clubs in D-7750 have chosen these alternate members to be sort of, I guess a favored guest or something. They're not in Rotary. They're not part of Rotary International. And there are member types in DACdb for that. They're essentially equivalent to a guest. So they don't, that record then doesn't go to RI. They don't become members. They don't get a Rotary ID. They're just kind of local club members, or I don't know what.
Sort of like we handle the prospects and the potential.
You can decide whether you want to count that or not in that member type in DACdb. Why don't we communicate directly on that? If you have questions about these members, there are a whole lot. There are easily 40 now member types. My club just adopted a YP32 membership, which is a reduced dues membership. Well, of course, there's YP32, then there's YP32 family, then there's YP32 corporate. So we spawned about 5 more new member types. But they're all there for any club in the district to use.
And that's in DACdb only. Rotary International only recognizes
And
active.
member types, then there's a checkbox as to whether that goes to Rotary or not. So in these, non-Rotarian associates, there's a
Well, the purpose of Rule 85 is that they don't have to attend the club meetings and it count against the club. So a person, and it does, if they do miss a meeting, then of course that's going to affect their perfect attendance. So in my experience, perfect attendance, members that are keeping track of perfect attendance, they don't want to bother with the Rule of 85. Okay, that would be something within your club that you would decide. Yes, did you hear what Terry had to say? Rule of 85 members that don't attend every meeting or may not want to attend every meeting, in some clubs, they have reduced dues. They don't have to pay the meal component of the dues. They just pay as if they were guests. So in that case, even members that are, but again, if they're striving for perfect attendance, they're going to be attending almost every meeting and doing makeups. So it's really not something that they would want to pursue or that you would need to pursue. Again, that's up to how your club wants to set it up, but typically they're going to keep track. They're going to have their own set of officers. And basically the way our club was going to do it and is going to do it, they're going to have their own officers and they're going to be treated like a committee almost. And so their officers report to our board. So the answer to your question would be however you guys want to set it up. Did you have?
In DACdb for a satellite, let me explain that quickly, hopefully. In DACdb, it handles satellite clubs beautifully. It's a subordinate club to your club. And there's instructions, again, available on how to do that, or we'll help you with it. But in that case, you put the satellite members in the satellite club. If your club has the DACdb attendance module, then the satellite club gets to use that for free. And they can have their own satellite club attendance. It's pretty slick. Now, given the fact that those are all members of Rotary under your club, whenever DACdb sends information up to Rotary, it looks like it's coming from your club because there's no record of the satellite club of which members are which. So that subordinate club is the best strategy for that, I believe. That way, they email each other, and we'll cover some of this in the advanced DAC section right away. I think we're set.
Okay, you guys have my my card, and I'll be hanging around for a bit. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help in any way I can. And if I don't know the answer, I will tell you I don't know the answer, but I sure know how to get the answer. I know how to get in touch with Lorraine or Terry or
Thanks so much.
whomever.
Regina.
Thank you.